We interrupt this news report to say 47 days till Christmas! Woohoo!
Stretch my hands to you.
Hey guys, great to see you. Well, not really see you, but I see you in Zoom calls, but great to see you joining this weekly video. Just an update, this is actually going to be the last weekly video for you guys specifically for a couple of weeks. Matt, Jack, Naomi, myself, we're trying something new starting next Sunday, so keep your eye out and keep your eyes peeled for what's coming. So it's very exciting, you're going to enjoy it, you're really going to love it, so check it out when it comes out. But I just wanted to share with you today a little something that we've already covered before, but I thought it'd be great just to go over it again and just share something that I read earlier this morning. And I flipped to Psalm 105 this morning. I'd highly recommend you go read it. What it is saying here is just basically an account of God's promise from all the way from Abraham to when Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt, and then the Israelites moved into the land that God had promised them. So it just basically gives you a snapshot of the story from Genesis all the way past Exodus. So like 2 books in the Bible, a little snapshot in like 20 verses. And it was fantastic just to read it in such a snapshot, because recently I have read kind of parts of the story from Abraham to Moses and the Israelites moving into the promised land. And so I've seen it in full, and then I got to see it in this little short piece. And I just, at the end, it says this, if I turn to it correctly in my Bible. For he remembered his holy promise given to his servant Abraham. He brought out his people with rejoicing, his chosen ones with shouts of joy. He gave them the lands of the nations, and they fell heir to what others had toiled for, that they might keep his precepts and observe his laws. Praise the Lord. Basically, it says there, for God remembered the holy promise he gave to Abraham, that Abraham's descendants would have a land of their own, their numbers would be more than the stars in the sky. And then they went through all the trouble that they went through in Egypt. And then God gave them the land. So God fulfills his promise. And that's one thing I want to take from today. God fulfills his promises. We've talked about that. We've talked about God being faithful, and also about being faithful to God. So God keeps his promises. But secondly, King David, who wrote most of the Psalms in this book, he was a storyteller. He loved to write. He loved to write songs, and he just loved to write down everything that was going on in his life. And recently we've been looking at journaling and what we can do in journaling. But I wanted to set you the challenge. Why not write your story? I've talked to you about this before, about sharing your story and what is your story and how you have a story. No matter what it is, no matter what is in your story, you have a story. Why not this week get your journal or get any notebook or anything and write down your story. Write down the things in your life that you're like, that's important to me. That's something that God did there. Or this was a challenging thing for me, but this is what I learned. Because writing down your story is a great way of looking back and going, wow, I've done this and this and this in my life, and God has provided this. Just like I had that kind of realization whilst reading this psalm, going, whoa, God did so much for his people, for the Israelites, and he does so much for me. And so this morning I wrote in my journal, I just wrote a sentence on my reflection of that psalm, and it says this: you led Israel through your promise to Abraham. Guide and teach me as you lead me through your promises. So what I've learned is that God does fulfill his promises, and God's working in my story, working in my life, guiding me and leading me to what he has set for me. Have a fantastic week, everybody. I'll see you in your Zoom calls. Bye for now.
Stretch